The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence.
With just 2 races remaining in the Season 9 campaign in the Nichols Oil Pros Cup Series for the Triple Bypass Racing League, we head to a track that can throw everything on its lid. The Atlanta Motor Speedway went from being a driver's favorite with the wore-out surface and the bumps to a pseudo-restrictor plate track where absolutely anything can and will happen. With a championship looming, drivers will be ever so stressful and ever so aggressive at the same time as they try to solidify their place to head into Charlotte next week. Welcome everyone to PTR TV again for today's coverage here of today's event, the Nichols Oil Pros Cup Series by Triple Bypass, the ATL Bumper to Bumper 130, again here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for 130 laps. And that is our race. No blinker, no problem. We will hope that these drivers race with a little bit more awareness than that setting describes here. But going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and in the production truck. Brad helping me out with the commentary per usual. Brad, 2 races to go, a whole season coming down to just 2 races. Charlotte next week, but we got to get through the mayhem that could be tonight.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is a race that when I saw it on the calendar the first time, I looked at it and I said, oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. This is one of those roll the dice, and I love the fact that this week we're calling this the Atlanta Bumper to Bumper 130 with no blinkers, no problems. I tell you what, Corey, I don't know if you've ever driven through Atlanta, but I've had the displeasure of doing it multiple times in my life at a variety of ages. And I'm just going to tell you, it is the worst traffic experience I've ever had. So I hope we don't drive here at Echo Park like we're actually driving on the interstate in Atlanta.
Pardon me. Echo Park Speedway. Got to make sure I appease the corporate bigwigs, a.k.a. Rick Hendrick and his fancy folks there to help put that on. But I have driven in Boston because that's where I live, and if it's anything like Boston, yeah, again, no bueno indeed. But again, our race today, not again because I didn't talk about it before, but I'll talk about it now. Steve McClendon is sponsoring today's race, our points leader and our league admin. So again, kudos go to him for that effort. And let's just bring up the points as things get juicy here with just 2 races to go. Things aren't, actually, I take that back. He's not the points leader. I'm just a full-faced liar here. Jeremy Brown up by the slimmest of margins, 3 points. But really, Brad, anybody I'd say within, I don't know, let's just be anyone on this sheet here. Anything can happen. 21 points can go in a quickie here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Jeremy Brown has kind of been the one to beat across all of the Triple Bypass Racing series. I mean, we covered the Xfinity series and the start of their final 3 races last week, and he's leading there. Tuesday nights, he's been competitive as far as I'm aware. So, I mean, He's been one to beat, but Steve McClendon, Mr. Two-Time, is going to be looking to keep it going here. And of course, if you like what you see, make sure you like and subscribe, as we're trying to chase down 2,000 by the end of the year. We're getting close, just need some help to get there. And, well, Corey, qualifying's coming to an end here, and I don't know. I have a weird feeling that tonight's going to change a lot of things.
It could very well indeed. We may have ourselves a first-time winner. That's sometimes what happens here at these lottery-style restrictor plate, tapered spacer tracks, whatever you want to call it. But let's head down trackside. Let's start things off here with our starting lineup. Starting today's race off from the front row, as I have an out-of-focus camera here, is Keaton Crothers, the Canadian, with William Emmert, the Oklahoma Antarctic native here. Sean Bradley in third, Jeremy Brown, the points leader, in fourth, and then we have Nicholas Deal going to roll off in the top five with Naj. That's a great qualifying effort for him in the sixth position. Matt Alfredson in seventh, Derek Cat Meow out of the eighth spot. Running at our top 10, back-to-back champion, going for the three-peat, McClendon and Matt Haben there in the 10th spot.
Moving on from there, we go P11. It's Catboy Zachary Nerney there going in the outside of row number 6. And Michael Hopkins there will be in P12. P13 moving on. Caleb Brown from Baton Rouge there with the Texas Pete car. Good taste. And Elton Woo in the Reese's car in P14. Donald Ristow will find 15th place. And Jason Benson will find P16. 17th place here on the night. Eddie Haggig and Adam Shaw, Clifford the Big Red Dog, in P number 18. P19, it is Hockey Man himself, Dominic Zanobi, and Daniel Williams in P20.
All right, what lap will Zanobi self-spin? We'll find out together. 21st will be Josh Corner, with Matt Epting going to be in 22nd. Mark Herzog in 23rd. Cam Kane, the Miller Lite automobile, in the 24th spot. In our final row, he was so quick at North Wilkesboro, but he is rounding out the caboose with Jim Hubble. We got Al Corey and the aforementioned Jim Hubble.
You know what? I'm going to throw Dominic Zanobi a bone. Not what lap is he going to self-spin, what lap is he going to have to go do dad duties? Because that seems to be the bigger issue of his life right now, if you want to call it an issue, but it definitely interferes with this thing that we call sim racing.
Yeah, and of course, I do, we joke all in good faith here, but again, still going through a hard time there with the loss of his aunt there, Donna. So looks like he's going to be pitting right there, but again, still respect to him as much as we roast. We kid because we care, as I think was Alan Bestwick who came up with that adage. But we're exiting the pits here. We'll go over our race details, and they are as follows. Race is 130 lap stage at lap 40. 3 sets tires, backup car, 55% fuel, which is in the ballpark of 36 to 39 laps. Brad, one thing we should have asked prior to this is I believe they have to run the flat in 3 and 4. You can see those white boxes, that white line. I believe they have to run down there as the pit entry lane. They don't have to do that at pit speed, but they have to get to pit speed at the regular cone.
I'm going to tell you yes on that, but I'm not 1,000,000% sure. We'll find out eventually, though. Somebody's going to pit stop fairly early in. Someone's going to have to take a fast repair somewhere, but I have this gut feeling, Corey, that something's going to be big tonight.
Well, we'll find that question, and we'll answer it in about 90 minutes' time, maybe a little less if it goes green. Green flag in the air. Let's go racing, bumper to bumper at Atlanta. Echo Park at Atlanta.
Echo Park, Atlanta, tomato, potato. They're the same, they're different. And right now, what is the same as well? That bumper to bumper homage is paying true here as we start out here on the front stretch. And the front few are holding on there through P4. You have to go back to McClendon himself in 5th to see any sort of side-by-side action coming through 3 and 4. Top 4 are holding on here. And then everyone else 5th back, 6th back are double file, 1 lap down.
1 lap down as in complete, not as in they are a lap down. I had to process that one for a second, but William Emmert, playoff driver is denoted by the yellow highlight underneath their name. You can see Emmert to the outside. He's brought back the ice cream. Been a few weeks since we've got to see that paint scheme, so bringing out Old Faithful here. Whoa, Jeremy Brown just shut the door as he closed in front of Donald Ristow. And now who's that going to the back of the pack? That is Matt Alfredson. Oh, that takes me back to the 90s there. Dunkaroos on that car. I think they still make them, but that is certainly a snack that a 90s kid will remember.
They do still make Dunkaroos, and I'm gonna say they're not as good as I remember them. I don't know. I'm gonna assume that there's a recipe change somewhere
They took
that has
out all the
happened throughout
chemicals.
the years. Yeah, it's just not as good as it used to be, but they do still make them. They are one of those things that every once in a while I do grab one and eat them, and they're not bad, but yeah, they're not what I remember from when I was younger, at least.
And we'll probably have some fun with some of the other paint schemes here to be had. But Nicholas Deal in third, Sean Bradley in second. And now Sean Bradley not in the playoffs. Well, I guess I already forgot how that happened. Something must have happened mid-season. Oh, yeah, I think he had to drop out for a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken here. But a lot of playoffs there in the top 10. And you could see a lot of single file, Brad. And I think that is a lot of patience being shown at this early juncture of the race. This is, while it is a super speedway-esque track, as Steve did privy us, handling does come into play. Of course, it's very, very narrow. You'll see a lot of drivers struggling with the handling, especially in turn number 3. So survival skills a little bit more important here than they would be at Daytona or Talladega.
Yeah, I think this track is really the best blend on that super speedway draft and battle run, along with that sort of, you still have to have some driver skill involved. It's not just hold the throttle and listen to your spotter and hope that your spotter actually clears you when you're clear. You do have to still have a little bit of skill involved with the runs here, which is why I find that this track works really well, personally, as we're on board here with Mr. Brown and the number 17. You can see here, it's really just trying to give it the run, continue along. Now down the front stretch, let's head back towards turn 1 and see how things go here. 190 miles an hour entering that corner, bumper to bumper, as we said. It is very much enticing to try to think of a move, but that patience is really proving great for some of these guys.
Now, as I talked about in the intro, our stage here today is going to be at lap 40. And if you make the consideration of what we were told with the fuel load, anywhere from about 35 minimum to about 38 hypermiling, it makes you wonder if one of these drivers, now Steve made it sound like there's no chance to make it to lap 40, but I mean, if you are coasting here, in the back where, maybe Mark Hertzog is, maybe where Eddie Hagge is, or some of these drivers 15th, they're not using a lot of throttle back here, right? Maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that they can hypermile us to the stage.
I think top 5 cannot make it to the stage regardless of what they do, just because of where they're at. But I agree with you. I think some of these guys, mid-pack, backpack, they are going to try to make it through. And I think the big question for me is going to come into when there might be a caution before the stage. And as of right now, these guys, they've settled in. And of course, I believe it was effective last week, if not the week before. I've already blanked on when they put this into effect, but they introduced the incident system and the penalty system that's really sort of gotten the drivers to, I think, cool their head a little bit and think about when they make moves and not just go for a move because if gap car, they understand, that, hey, you get too many points and we'll just boot you from the session.
Yeah, we didn't forget that, but indeed the case is active here at Echo Park, where it's going to be 10 incidents gets you a drive-through penalty, and then 16, as I like to say, you done, bro. You will get disqualified and removed from the event. So obviously if you are a playoff driver, that's going to have even higher consequences, but thus far, again, clean green single file. Our first inkling of double file is going to be Jason Benson there in the 42. But in the words of Akon, he is very lonely, and there's nobody to call his own there on that outside lane. And the only thing here, Brad, is the outside. You can sort of, kind of do it by yourself because there's enough speed loss here that, the inside checks up. Sometimes you can actually gain a spot or two by yourself, but you don't want to stay up there too long.
Yeah, it's one of those that you would rather be with the majority of the pack down there running flat out. Well, not flat out, but running flat through in the single file run if you can help it. And as he drops in there, that's exactly what he would like to do. But if you need to make that dive to the outside, it's available. It's just not a long-term solution, but it's a short-term solution for short-term problems. And then you get the back of the pack here where things are just, sometimes the back of the pack really produces its own style of racing compared to the rest. And these guys will turn the volume up to 11 every once in a while.
There's Snoopy here, Mark Herzog, right behind the 18 of Matthew Epting, the Pokemon Mobile. As we did have to learn that one on Thursday, where, again, these paint schemes that we saw on Thursday, not everyone has a matching theme, so getting back into the Cup theme here, but a couple drivers dropping on back, and then we do have three drivers who are way back there. Adam Shaw, Josh Corner, Dan Williams. Dan Williams, a playoff driver, just cruising along here, doing the old just Dale Jarrett, Terry Labonte, Mark Martin method of restrictor plate racing, where you just hang in the back, wait for them to wreck, and then take advantage of it later. The only flaw with that strategy, Brad, is where we do have a fast repair. There's almost less of a reason to want to do that, because even if it does happen, you just go in the pits and all's back to new.
Well, I mean, I still think there's a reason to do it, because remember, this is a 130 lap race, and races aren't won on lap 1. They're not won on lap 100. They're won at the checkered flag, which in this situation is lap 130. So, I mean, and that's, again, every driver kind of has their different style, and that's always been sort of my approach, is to sit back a little bit and just wait. I've always found that, waiting and kind of letting some guys run their tires out, run themselves tired, and then near the end of the race, that's when you really send it through, can sometimes play beneficial. And as we know, some of these drivers, that's their style, and some of these guys are going to have great short runs, great long runs. Some of them are good medium runs, and right now I think any of the guys who are settled in and waiting to get that long run pace out, they're going to be in a great position right now, because this race shows no sign of slowing down.
So, Brad, do I sprinkle it with niceness, or do I just kind of say a blunt statement?
When have you ever sprinkled something with niceness?
Very, very rarely.
So are we starting now? Is this Corey turning over a new leaf for the holidays?
We're going to need some filler talk if this is going to be the race. I mean, look at, and again, I appreciate the patience here, and this is the smartest way to run these races is what they're doing right now, but from a TV perspective, doesn't really give us a lot to work with.
I hope you know that Al Corey is going to send you a message later, because we had Martinsville.
We're wrecking.
Okay, well, that's a commentator's curse.
But we're still green. We're green. See, I used my magic powers because I was getting a little bored, so to speak. And I have single-handedly caused a wreck. Eddie Haggy there. Kind of if-gap car.
I was going to say, I want to say the 18 self-cleared himself, but maybe I'm wrong here. Let's get a replay. And I mean, that's Atlanta driving to a T. Let's see how this happened here. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, the 18 had to give up the bottom, but even though he had
to go right back down.
Yeah, he had to give up the bottom, but he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to go back. So actually, that would kind of be one of those double fault situations, I believe, where I don't know. Come to think of it, I really don't know. But everyone is waiting up for the pace car. I mean, if you slide up off the bottom and a car fills it in, you can't clear yourself back down. So I guess I'm actually I am going to put more of my fault on the 18 there, as a matter of fact, and by admin work that nobody asked me to do. But here's our answer. Everyone needs to come down to the pits. I do remember when this track implemented this rule in iRacing that there was some issues with it, and hopefully those have been ironed out by iRacing to where you don't get random black flags when you pit. But I do know that was a thing for a while. I imagine it's all facilitated now, but this will take out the fuel equation, Brad. I can't imagine tires going on, but this will certainly take out the fuel equation.
I was gonna say I don't know if tires would go on either. I was thinking about that. As very clearly, a bird has pooped on a camera is about what I'm gonna assume there. There it is. It's back in focus. But so my assumption on what's happened. Okay, well, very clearly I spoke too soon. Do we need to call HR and hire a new camera operator? I think that's what we're doing right now. Stand by. I think our normal camera operator went to the bathroom and bumped a button on his way out. So we'll call him and ask him where he's at, because he's been on the bathroom break way too long, Corey.
Yeah, can't get good help these days as the world is, but that camera will be fixed for the next time it has usage. But I'm still going to stand by my point that is the best way to run this race. I've made very controversial takes in the past, and when we had a little bit more lively of chat, people were actually getting back at me on it, where I am someone who strongly believes that in the world of drafting style races, there is absolutely zero need for the race to be longer than 50 laps. You won't change my mind, because at the end of the day, you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you're just waiting for that perfect timing moment at the end. So why do we need 450 miles of lead up when you're literally just waiting for the last 50 miles to actually get where you want to go? That's how I see it. Put in chat if I'm wrong. I'd be happy to have a debate, but you won't change my mind on it.
Corey's a boomer.
Indy 500, proper race, no stages. It's not a drafting track. Fine. Daytona 500. I mean, I'm more going to say keep it 500 miles because of history, but the actual fact of the matter, I still say it stands. You're all just waiting for the last, basically the Daytona 500 has turned into don't wreck on the green, white, checkered.
You're really not wrong with that. Is what's hilarious at this point.
Yeah. It's actually been going around the NASCAR community that Daytona 500 has lost its luster, because it's not back in the day where the legends won the race and you had to fight and endure. It's just don't get wrecked by Ricky Stenhouse on a green, white, checker. That's what the Daytona 500 is now. But that's a podcast topic that hashtag 2026. We'll give ourselves a loose timeline here. But let's get ready for a restart. Carruthers to the inside has led just about, if not every lap of the 22 that we've run, and we have 18 to go to our stage break. There's Zach Nerney. I don't think we've discussed him. He is up there, a playoff driver. Had a great run at North Wilkesboro until it didn't end that way, but let's see who does what here as we are 18 coming to 17 to go for our stage break.
Bringing it through here to the line up front: Keaton Carruthers, Sean Bradley, Nicholas Steele, Steve McClendon, your top four as they come through. Jeremy Brown rounds out fifth, and good run there from Carruthers to get through. Sean Bradley in that Seaview radio mobile holding on, and Steve McClendon in third with Jeremy Brown in fourth. I'd say those are the two titans of this series right now that you need to keep an eye on as we ride on board here and we watch that number 405 of Emmert just try to Sunday his way around on a Sunday.
Yep, Mr. 405. I remember last week you had me dying there, that little Pitbull joke, and I intended to learn a Pitbull line, but I just couldn't quite do it. But here's the outside, and I mean, I've raced this combo, Brad, and I did what Nicholas Steele did. I put it in the wall a few times. But it is actually pretty hard to pass here. The way that the drafting model is, the way that the handling is. Not sure how the setup is, how loose the setup is, if it kind of doesn't cause you to scrub off too much speed, but be interesting to see once the stage gets closer. Gives us an indication of what we have to work with in terms of how the passing is going to be, how the racing is going to be, because everyone right now, for the most part, again, just patiently waiting as, who is that? Michael Hopkins. He ain't patiently waiting. He drove all the way to the top of the track, maybe to evade a checkup, but pulls back in line, and Mr. Highline Shaw, where else would he be but on the high line?
I'm convinced that Adam Shaw doesn't know that the bottom of the track exists. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm convinced that his goal each week is just how close to a wall can I stay for the majority of the race. Don't know if he's got any odds written on that, but it definitely feels like it because he does not like to run on the low line, even when every other car, all 24 of 25, we're wrecking, we're checking up. All right, I'll give him credit, though. Sometimes being outside the line, you can check up real hard. That was a good checkup. A spicy Reese's. I don't think that sounds tasty, but let's see what happened here. Texas Pete was clearly involved.
Oh, it was Naj who had issues of sorts, and that just wadded him up. So even single file, I mean, oh, he got done turnted.
Oh, what happened here? Let's run on board from the back, and what
He left
happened?
the bottom
Looks like he
open.
gave a little.
Now, that's second verse, same as the first.
That is exactly what that is.
He left the bottom open, and again, I am going to. If you're gonna do a rewind, if you're gonna go rewind, Brad, you have to make the sound. He left the bottom open.
Future.
Now there's ample car space there. So admin may refute that. They have every right to make their decisions, but if you leave the bottom open, you're not entitled to go back there.
Yep, and the fact that we've seen two wrecks happen the same way now makes me wonder, are the spotters sleeping here at Echo Park? Did we fill them up with a good iced coffee before this broadcast? Or did we accidentally cut the iced coffee budget this week? Because it seems like the spotters maybe are forgetting to call car inside.
Yeah, or maybe it's a matter of the car on the inside getting tight. I mean, it's hard to say, but at the surface level that we can see, it seems as though the outside car is trying to get space that they're not entitled to upon giving it up. Let's see if our pit cam is fixed. It's even worse.
What have you done?
I hit autofocus.
So very clearly, autofocus does not focus in an automatic way. So let's see again if we can make some phone calls and get that fixed here as we go. It looks fixed.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different camera, which I guess is possible.
No, I hit auto zoom instead of auto fix. So that's when you're trying to just scramble in a hurry here. But you get to see my new B-roll footage that I had filmed for the race, because I had filmed multiple sets of B-roll footage for this place. But that was when it had green walls and it was slightly lower resolution. Of course, the new NASCAR refresh that has iRacing has gone through each track individually, and regardless of the scan age, they have made the graphics up to the modern snuff, and this place looks absolutely fantastic and gives me more work on the back end, but it's actually really fun going through and seeing all the little details and how high resolution everything is. So makes these broadcasts fun. We have the 3D grass that has never really made it to the ovals until just recently. So again, these kudos to iRacing for what they've done with the NASCAR refresh. And we're going to refresh ourselves and get to some racing here shortly. It'll be about 10 laps to go for the stage. Brad, I don't know if you've seen it, but a good majority, I would say at least 6 to 8 of the drivers thus far have had to take their fast repairs. So there may be a heightened sense of carefulness in the back of the field now.
I was actually just looking at that on my side and seeing who's taking fast repairs and who hasn't. And
yeah,
this is the fun of fast repairs, is that you take that fast repair, and I wonder if some of these drivers unintentionally took their fast repairs or if some of them really had to. But sometimes you gamble, you run a little bit of damage, and you save the fast repair and you work on it under caution. Sometimes it's just enough that you kind of just bite the bullet. But the problem of taking your fast repair here at coming up on lap 30 with 100 laps to go is that it really means you need luck to be your way, not just skill to stay out of incidents, but you kind of need a little bit of luck here around Atlanta because, again, no blinker, no problem. I forgot that was the tagline this week, and for the 2 cautions we've had, that works way too well. Wow.
Is that almost like a spin on a Kenny Chesney song?
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is it? McClendon, answer the question.
I can't even think of the song, but I know there's a Kenny Chesney song that kind of talks about alcohol and says no problem. I'll look it up under a caution here, but back to reality, and let's get on the loud pedal into Echo Park restart zone at Echo Park Speedway. Echo Park oozing out of the seams here. Green flag in the air. Steve McClendon gets the whole shot advantage and clears. Sean Bradley puts himself in P2, wants that playoff point, wants the additional point. Jeremy Brown's back there. We have a checkup. That may have been one of those awkward net code checkups, or someone missed a shift, but everyone carries on.
That was a big checkup there. And also, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that we're in turn 3 and turn 4 of Echo Park here? That Echo Park sponsors this speedway as we go through and around here down into the front stretch heading towards turn 1. We've single filed it up front. Going through, you have to go all the way back to Clifford, the big red dog there. One, Mr. Adam Shaw, in order to find any sort of side-by-side. Zenobi is still out and about, and he is running that great Snack Shack livery throwback to Thursday night. And then we've still got some side-by-side the back end of the field trying to sort things out as we're, 8 laps to the stage here.
Caleb Brown is looking and actually executing in a 3-wide. 3-wide through the quad oval here is absolutely terrifying, and I think that was enough to cause him to let off the accelerator, pull back into lane there in front, or rather behind, the Rooster, who is, again, playoff driver, hanging in the back, has already used the fast repair, has that Reese's Chevrolet, pardon me, Toyota. So he's going to have to be on his something for the next 100 or so laps. But up front, we are single file. Again, 7 laps to go to the stage. A lot of people have lost their benefit to the reprieve, to the backup car. So how aggressive, how important are these upcoming stage points?
It's going to be very important here. And when you look at, we have 5 playoff drivers in the top 6 spots right now. We have 6 in the top 8. All of them are going to be jockeying for position. At what point do the gloves come off and do things kind of get a bit chaotic? Because the playoffs, the points are so thin right now that really anything happening right now, it's important. And basically what I'm trying to say by saying the same words over and over is that you need to capitalize on every opportunity. You can't let your palms be sweaty, your knees weak, or your arms be heavy. You need to seize the moment and not let it pass. Let's see who decides to do that here. But, Keaton Crothers has looked on his P's and Q's this week. He's P11 in the standings, but right now, stage points would go aplenty for him.
The sun in the sand and a drink in my hand with no bottom, no shoes, no shirt, and no problems there. I did the goog, so you didn't have to there. Whether that has anything to do with the title of the race, don't know, but it was close enough that it was interesting to look up. But again, looking through the back of the field, you can see, and I talked about it earlier, Brad, but we're really seeing it here towards the end of the stint. And as I know Steve had said, the tires may come into it. These drivers really struggling to keep the car on the bottom through turn 3.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive to me. And look at Nerney, a little bit of a peak there down the back stretch, but back to single file we go here. Everyone really trying to just fight the car. And I looked at the setup notes before the race, and there was a note that the car is set up in a way that it's meant to be stable in the draft, but you do lose the nose if you're tucked up due to the way the arrow is set up, and it's rough on corner exit more than anywhere else. And there was the recommendation of a slight lift on corner entry. Now, whether drivers are actually doing that is, that's $1 million question, of which I have no answer. McClendon ducking the nose out there and giving a little bit of a wiggle as Emmert is trying to keep his ice cream to himself here. Jamie Brown defending to the inside. We're 2 laps to the stage.
Now, while we're 2 laps to the stage, we do have 2 drivers who have lost the draft. Whether intentional or not, this very well may be intentional to preserve not getting in a wreck. That's Eddie Hagee in Josh Corner here, but I think you preempted us a little early, Brad. I think we're 3 to go on the stage, not 2 to go. Now we're coming to 2 to go.
I can't do math, and I'm going to blame it on
alcohol. Sorry.
Well, it's Dr. Pepper Zero and a lack of sleep is what I'm blaming it on here as we come through. Keaton Crothers still leading. Nerney's losing touch with the top 3 here, so I think Crothers and McClendon are going to be the 2 that we have to watch here to get to the state. He got a run there into 3, actually. So, yeah, he might be just trying to get a little cheeky here and set something up to try to gain some extra points here.
That little cheeky bugger is trying to make a little bit of an overtake here with 1 lap to go here in the stage. Looking to the outside is Jeremy Brown. I'll cut that before I embarrass myself too much, but he's trying to take advantage of it. No, he wants the point. Steve has it, but Jeremy Brown wants it, but no help to the outside lane. Will Steve pull out a line? Will he try to time it? Is Sean Bradley going to help? No. Coming off turn 3, coming through 4, exiting into the quad oval. They're fanning out, but no challenge for the win. It's going to be Keaton Crothers getting the point.
Thankfully, everyone kept that one fairly tidy, all things considered, coming to the stage. I was worried that we were going to see something big happen there. Out of 4, somebody try to get a little gutsy and cutesy with a dive, but nobody does that, and they pretty well finish at the line just how we saw them for a majority of that stage, as they all fan out for the checkup, and they wait on the pace car to work its way through and catch the leader.
Yep, and again, this is the awkward moment. They have to wait for the pace car before they can enter the pits. So that's what they're doing now. They're all checked up. Now, everyone took fuel last time, so this may be the first time to take tires. We do have somebody staying out. That is going to be Epting. Epting did take 4 tires in a fast repair on his last stop, so now we don't know all the ins and outs. There's going to be multiple pit stops, at least 2 to end this thing through, maybe 3, and is that a damage to Zenobi there? Significantly, actually.
I gotta wonder.
Look at that right front.
I was about to say, what has happened to him? Because the right front is much worse than I was expecting. I knew he had a little bit of front end damage there because I'd caught it just.
How is he driving in the draft? How is he maintaining pace? I know the draft is a band-aid, but that's more of a stitches. That's a suture.
I'd say, I don't know.
Adam Shaw had to back into his stall there. Again, our cameraman has upped his ante here. We can actually see, using our pit lane cam, different strategies at play. I saw Nerney, I think, get out of the pits first.
6-second stop for Zachary Nerney.
Top 3 stayed out. Nerney in the 4th spot, first to pit. And that, again, a 6-second stop, which implies fuel only. Deal and Hopkins all taking fuel only as well. So that means that this race has changed up just a little bit here.
So is the draft that powerful?
I mean, the draft is powerful. It's just it seems really hard to do anything with it. So.
Well, I'm thinking of Zenobi's car at this point. I mean,
oh, okay.
Like, that was, for the front end, I mean, that was some pretty moderate front end damage. Not the worst we've seen, but it's that tire being the way it was, and he was still running through. And, yeah, I mean, if we can get a good shot of that right front as he comes around, which I think we will, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see what the tire wear numbers are for him. Now, as you said, Brad, sometimes it's better to get as much damage repaired slowly as you can, because you just don't know what'll happen later on in the race. There may be a point. Yep, no, he just said, forget it, can't do it anymore. Just took the fast repair. Obviously, he realized that maybe the challenge was not overcomable there. But now we're going to see something interesting, Brad, that we haven't got to see yet. Crothers, McClendon, Bradley, can they get through the field? How easy is passing? Will they even want to make passes at this juncture, or will they just kind of relegate and wait till more laps tick by?
It's 50-50. I mean, if I'm them, I want to get out of traffic for the avoidance of any potential big one. I think what's going to be interesting here is to kind of watch those drivers who had 6-second stops and just, fuel only or 2 tires. Nerney up there is the main one I'm looking at, versus drivers that took 4 tires like McClendon, and see where they come out here, because it's going to be very, very interesting to see. We know tire wear does exist, but in this setting, how much of a difference will it truly make?
Guess we'll have to answer these questions in about 87 laps. So Epting, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this may be the first time we've seen him lead a race. Let's see what he can do. Dunkaroos and Pokemon on the front row. Let's sprinkle some Cinnamon Toast Crunch in for good measure. He did not get going there, and that's going to allow Alfredson to take the lead off the whole shot here. Nerney out by his lonesome on the outside lane as everybody's single filing. And just as soon as that happens, Epting to the inside as Alfredson looks like he might want to work with Nerney on the top of the racetrack.
And now Nerney and Alfredson dive to the inside. It's an absolute cluster behind them. Top three there with Hopkins now involved trying to get away. Everyone fourth place back. I mean, they can't figure out where they want to be. I see 3 wide in the background there as McClendon up front has Jeremy Brown just absolutely on the rear bumper here. Truly Atlanta driving, going along and around and just keeping his way through. I mean, look at this. He is shove it in the corner. He's keeping it through, and Epting there just holding low. Jeremy Brown is really trying to tell McClendon to get a hurry up.
And if your bit rate is high enough, you can see he actually has a skeleton suit and helmet there. So maybe that is the future of Steve McClendon if the bump drafting continues. But even doing that, Brad, they weren't making any headway. And now they're stuck to the outside. McClendon, no, he's going to stay to the top. He's not going to up and bail on Jeremy Brown. Competitors for the championship working in cooperation with each other. Again, we'll see if the outside works. If them two on the outside can't make it work, Brad, I think it's safe to say that it's going to be a lost cause up there.
I'd say if those 4 can't make it work, because you've got McClendon, Jeremy Brown, Keaton Crothers, and Sean Bradley together up on the high line. If those 4 can't make a run happen, the high line doesn't exist. And I hate to say it, but Echo Park is a single lane track here for triple bypass tonight, which is unfortunate to see, but I mean, that's just, look at this. I mean, they're not getting a run to save their life. Look at this. They aren't able to get past Nicholas Deal. Well, I say that, and now he's barely by, but Nicholas Deal will bring it back through 3 and 4 as they go side 2 wide here, and top 4, I mean, they're just settled in.
Yeah, they're just absolutely stuck, and, you know, I think what the problem ultimately is we're wrecking.
We're wrecking. That is Eddie, I believe.
We got Caleb Brown, Eddie Haggy. Whoa! Al Corey just...
All right, boss man.
Big junk here on the back straightaway.
All right, let's see how this one started.
I'm gonna put the 17 as my focal point here, even though I don't necessarily know if that's accurate. It is accurate. What do you know? Always go with your intuition, folks. Watch that. Oh no, it was Herzog and Haggy actually, and then Al Corey just came on in there like a speeding bullet. We'll get a perspective of that in a second, but let's get one more again look at and Eddie Haggy. Yeah, I mean, now that's the point of contact. I mean, we've seen this same incident happen. I have a harder time saying that lane was open that time, though.
Yeah, but that's a weird one. That's a weird one is what I'll say.
It was a checkup, and they were scattering ultimately, so...
I mean, it didn't look like Eddie was trying to go low. It seemed like Herzog saw gap and said if gap car, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to break that down, and guess what? That's admin's job, of which I am not, very thankfully. I do that on Wednesday nights. I don't do that on Sundays.
You don't do that on Sundays, but what we do on Sundays is we do our race recap of the prior week's events, and that was at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. And while we're under yet another caution, maybe as good a time as any to go remind ourselves of what took place.
November 9th, 2025 brought the Triple Bypass Nichols Oil Pros Series to historic North Wilkesboro Speedway for the White Lightning 185, co-sponsored by series admin Steve McClendon and juicebox lover Dylan Freeman. This 185-lap short-track showdown delivered everything fans could hope for: door-to-door battles, wild spins, and enough cautions to keep spotters sweating. The night featured 3 leaders, 9 lead changes, and 14 cautions that slowed the field for 39 laps. The race was broadcast live on YouTube by Primetime Racing TV. Steve McClendon drove the 51 to victory in front of his own banner event, sealing a storybook finish. Starting third, he led 16 laps, but had some adventures along the way. He had the best lap, clocking in at 18.2 seconds, setting the tone early for what became a great comeback. Brad Kress finished second in the 9 car after leading a race-high 71 laps, but he also had to make a late charge after pit strategy didn't fall his way. In third came Al Corey in the 45 Canadian Tire car, who climbed from 13th on the grid with a clean and steady race. A last lap pass by Kress kept him from finishing better, but a great finish. Our pole sitter Jeremy Brown finished 4th after leading 100 laps, an impressive run showing just how competitive the 46 team is despite some racing incidents. Rounding out the top 5 was William Emmert in the 405, maintaining steady pace to secure another strong result and add valuable playoff points. Steve McClendon wins the White Lightning 185, conquering the North Wilkesboro short track in a thrilling victory. His win will likely make him the championship favorite in the final 2 races of the season. Congratulations to McClendon and the 51 team. We hope you enjoyed this Triple Bypass Nichols Oil Pros Series recap. We'll see you next time.
All right, we're back after that race recap of the North Wilkesboro Speedway, and now perfect timing because we are situated and ready for yet another restart. Alfredson to the inside, Nerney to the outside. Barty has the flag, and we'll try it again. Let's go racing at Echo Park.
And getting this race going here. Matt Alfredson getting away well. Zach Nerney holding that outside line, but he's going to drop a position early. He's got his friend there of Steve McClendon. I don't know if I want to call him a friend, but they're fighting for the championship. So, you know, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. So we'll see how that goes as Jeremy Brown is in the mix somewhere as well. He's back in 10th place there, trying to work behind Nerney. Is that top line, I tell you what, Corey, I know we just talked about this off air, but look at this. It is just dropping like a rock.
Yeah. Oh!
Oh no!
And then we wreck after the wreck. Well, we caught that one live.
We caught that one on board. Let's see how it actually 23 came up. Is that what we're saying? Did the 23 pull a 23 and come up there? No offense to the 23. I'm of course referencing real life 23.
It's hard because these wrecks are all depth perception, spatial awareness style incidents, so it's really hard to. I mean, should someone have been higher? Should someone have been lower? I mean, the answer is yes. What I do want to figure out is how Naj and Corner wrecked about 16 years after that wreck happened when they were all the way in the back. Oh, so yeah,
so I think
Corner turned Naj.
Yeah, so Naj was locking it, I think breaking it down, and I think Corner just wasn't expecting the speed of which Naj was breaking it down, and unfortunately they became collateral. Yeah.
Usually breaking it down is a good thing, because that means you're getting your groove thing on. And I wouldn't consider that being getting your groove thing on in QA con mode, because guess who's lonely?
Matt Alfredson, but you know what? I mean, he's running he's running a slam dunk right now up front. He's been up front since the stage.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, again, 39, 40 laps. So a pit stop here theoretically gets you to about lap 92. And that gives you, I guess, the opportunity to finish this out on one more stop. What's 130 minus 92? I think that's 38. So yeah, theoretically a stop from here, if you stretch it out to 38 laps, which is the maximum that we are aware of, could be a one-stop race from here, but that would imply there's going to be no further cautions, which trend doesn't support that narrative. But pit stops had people exiting their stalls. McClendon getting out first, and McClendon took 5 seconds. Everybody just doing a splash and dash of the Sunoco virtual race fuel.
Yeah, McClendon with a 5.2 second stop there. Great stop in from him to go through. Nicholas Deal had a shorter pit stop, but Nicholas Deal missed his pit box and had to reverse. So that 5.2 seconds of Nicholas Deal is not representative, honestly, of everything. As I do see a black flag has been handed out to Eddie. I see Joshua Corner has a black flag, and then Derek Cat. That cat has a meatball flag, I believe. It ended up in a bathtub.
The 10X rule. See, we're already kind of forgetting the little new nuances that have joined us here. Again, with the new penalty system, 10X gets you a drive-through penalty, 16X is the end. And, I mean, some of these drivers have been in just about anything, so you get about 3 wrecks, 3 big incidents. That gives you 4 incident points when you make car contact, so basically you could touch another car 4 times. On the 4th time, sayonara sucker. So a couple of these drivers are probably right on the cusp of that, to be honest.
Yeah, I know right now we've lost Mark Herzog and Caleb Brown out of this race. Derek Cat with that meatball flag through, and Caleb Brown is in YouTube chat, and his response was, what an unfortunate race for me. So I don't know if it was incident or just a case of damage taking him out. So not ideal regardless of what it is, as we're coming around 1 to green here, and look who's P2, Steve McClendon. And if Steve McClendon can't make this outside line work, this outside line just doesn't exist.
Oh, and if this outside line doesn't exist, Brad, what does that mean for the rest of this broadcast?
It's going to be a lot of wishful thinking to get that outside line to work, is what we're about to probably do for this broadcast. Yes. I don't know if y'all have any... I know rain dances are a thing people do. Does anyone have an outside line at Echo Park Speedway dance that they can do to get that outside line to hook up?
I don't think PJ1 would work, so maybe we need that Mario Kart, you know, the turbo pads you get that just zoom you along there. Maybe we just need some of those, maybe some NOS. Maybe we could chuck some banana peels. No, because that would just lead more cautions. So, but I'm sure something will come of interest here, and hopefully the end of this race is certainly entertaining. Again, leading into the final race of the season, that is next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, much more traditional race. Traditional mile-and-a-half normal racing package, completely different than what we're witnessing here today. But that is next week, and we got a lot of work to finish here today in the Echo Park restart zone at Echo Park Speedway. Echo. Huge jump from Alfredson, which normally is a good thing, but not at a track with drafting. That essentially may cause him to be a sucker here in turn number 3.
Very indicative for me is the fact that Jeremy Brown, before we even hit turn 1, dropped back to that inside line, and the only person still on the outside right now is Nicholas Deal. That is a big note.
That's how you know. That's how you know, Brad. Steve had a run of champions, and he chose not to take it because he knew it wasn't going to work. So, I guess, you know, to kind of extrapolate further, Brad, as to why we've seen some of the wrecks we've seen thus far. We've seen drivers... Never mind.
As we see another caution, and that is...
I believe that Eddie Hagee has already been incidented. Remember that we haven't said that phrase in a while. Actually, were you even around for that phrase, Brad? Incidented.
No, that was not me. That was probably
what
on...
the flip?
I'm sorry? We missed something there. Okay, so he's up high. He's
I know it's
really
no blinker,
slow.
no problem, but you don't need to take it that literally. turn now. Talent check at the door. I guess security just let everyone in today. We roast in good faith, but come on, I mean, it's no blinker, no problem, but you do actually have to look before you just turn down 3 lanes into the pits, my Lanta. On that note, we're going to commercial because I'm going to get myself in trouble. We'll be back. Enjoy Random Autocross.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence.
All right, we are back here on PTR TV, the Nichols Oil Pros Cup Series ATL bumper to bumper 130. No blinker, no problem. As we just saw, that has been taken to heart. Myself, Corey Silva in the booth and in the truck. Brad Dalton here helping me out with the calls. Brad, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by that caution flag, a couple of the wrecks we've seen thus far have been, you know, a slight sniff of lane to the inside being left open, drivers trying to fill it in. We kind of roasted it at first, but the more we see what we have, I mean, I think we understand how important it is to take advantage of the inside lane tonight.
I mean, literally what I'm being told on the back end by drivers is that this track is very difficult to pass. And also, drivers, thank you for not messaging me while the race is green and only during caution. I do appreciate that. I've had a driver message me during green flag racing before, and I don't want to be responsible for your wreck. And that's where I'm going to leave that. But yeah, it's been interesting to see that outside line. It takes a huge run from the second car in line. So for example, let's look at the top two on the outside right now, McClendon and Jeremy Brown. Jeremy Brown would have to give McClendon a great run to help McClendon get ahead of Alfredson on the outside. As the pace car pulls off, watch if that happens.
Yeah, not even just a great run. It would have to be an almost universally unexpected run, but there is the jump that Alfredson gets. Last time we saw Alfredson get a jump, we expected that he would get swallowed up, but the inside lane fell back in line and they just decided to stay put, didn't want to take a chance. And now McClendon, he tried to shut the door but realized Carlo can't do that, so Hopkins going to go and look at the gap that Alfredson has given. Is that enough of a gap to make the outside worth taking a stab at?
It don't know if it will, but right now he doesn't have a choice. He's not clear inside as we go through. Let's see here, because Harmon's going to bring his way up into this mix. That number 28, Matt Harmon.
Right.
I don't feel like we've talked about him, but
Steve, you got to clear yourself. You can't take your friend with you. You can't take your friend with. I don't think you could take your friend with you.
He might be proving us wrong. Okay. McClendon and Harmon getting their way through, and the number 18 of Epting making the high line work. So that 37, Matt Alfredson, I don't think he's taking tires, and he's on a 35-lap stint. Are we seeing a moment where there's enough of a tire delta?
So why has he stayed out 35 laps? He's going to have to pit under green by himself. That makes about as much sense as Chinese trigonometry, so we'll figure that one out together. Did have a couple drivers have to pit, Benson and Corner, which I imagine were green flag related penalties pertaining to the incident cap, so that puts them 1 lap down. They will be hoping for a free pass, and they'll be hoping for a free pass on a caution, but having no part of the caution, which is the hard part. But we now know passing on the outside is possible under the perfect circumstances. Now, who else can line up perfect circumstances? But I will say, getting by the back-to-back champion, that's going to take even the utmost of highest circumstances to make that happen.
Yeah, so here is the problem that this entire field now faces, is the fact that they've let Steve McClendon get to the front. I really will say, going into this race, my thought was don't let McClendon, don't let Jeremy Brown up front. You let those two up front, and you're going to have a problem. Here's McClendon's issue. He sponsored today's race. What does that mean for Steve McClendon? Well, if you watch Triple Bypass, and you've watched them as we've covered them here on PTR TV, traditionally, the driver that sponsors the race doesn't have a great time. With that being said, if anyone can break that curse, it would be up to Steve McClendon. So let's see how this plays out here as he holds on. I would argue he is the one driver that you didn't want to let up front as he leads us on to lap 67 here. Field mostly single file, Corey. And let's see how this one plays out.
At this juncture here, as we have now passed halfway, so if it starts downpouring, we do have an official race here at play. And are they voluntarily running the high side? Are we pulling off the old Dale Jr. 2006 rip the high lane situation right now? I know handling is a thing. I mean, is it a boredom thing, or is there actually something to maintaining more speed up there on the top of the racetrack?
I don't know. I
mean, it makes
We've
sense.
We've roasted the outside line the whole time.
Sense from a physics perspective. I mean, you're not binding the car down as much. You theoretically can maintain more speed up there, I would imagine. Just wasn't expecting to see that executed here today. And is anybody else following that heat or taking suggestion of it? No, Epting looking to the inside. Epting, who has a impossibly large fuel cell, because he's still on the racetrack, but he's looking to the inside, filling that gap in.
So Epting being there makes me nervous now as we see Epting going through and along.
Wait, who is it? Is it? No, it's Alfredson, pardon. He's the one who's been out.
Yeah, so Alfredson at this point being in the position he's in makes me a little nervous. No offense to you, Matt Alfredson, but at some point you're going to have to figure out when to pull off here and get into pit lane, because I would imagine that you are probably screaming for fuel. Steve McClendon has now dropped Epting and is now dropping down the order, and he's all the way down into 4th place. So the outside line stopped working. Harmon's ahead of him, and McClendon now down into P4 in the series of a lap. That outside line was doing good, and, well, then you built a brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a secondary thing that might be a thing, Maybe Steve was trying to learn something. Steve's someone who likes to know what to expect. You want to be able to make that decision, and there goes Alfredson again. That lonely pit stop, which we question the strategy. He still isn't at a point where he can do it on one stop from here. He'd have to make it one stop from here. In addition to this, so not a good overall situation, but I imagine a caution will come up. But maybe Steve was trying to learn something, Red. It can work. If I work with Harmon, I can make it work. If we do this can happen. You want to have as much in the bank for the end of the race as possible.
Yeah. There's plenty of race left. That is the one thing that I'm looking at and telling myself and thinking about with everything, is that there's plenty of race left, especially looking back here at Keaton Crothers and Sean Bradley, who ran the first stage most of the time up front, and they're slowly working their way back up front here with that inside line, just a position at a time. But we're 73 of 130, we're 57 laps to go if I can do math on 10 o'clock at night, which is not my strong suit, so I'll trust you, Corey, to fact check me on that math of 130 minus 73. And again, I said it at the top of the broadcast, races aren't won on lap 1, they're not won on lap 73 of 130, they're won on lap 130 of 130. So a little bit of patience here, and no blinkers, no problems, let it go, and you never know what's going to happen. We've seen these races play out 7 ways to Sunday.
Indeed the case, as we do have in this lead draft 17 drivers, the last of which being Cam Kane. John Crutchley, Naj cruising along all by his lonesome, and the sad part for him is he's already used his fast repair, so he got what he got at this juncture. Do have 3 drivers off the lead lap, Benson, Corner, and Alfredson. 4 drivers retired from the race, Haggy, Cat, Brown, and Herzog. So this is a good size field, not too big to the point where it's going to cause massive wrecks, but just enough to where it keeps it interesting, and you still have to plan your moves, plan your strategies, plan your momentum. And look at Al Corey. He had to take a fast repair. He's Arca Brakes Al, as Dylan Freeman has nominated him, but he's trying to work with Nerney to the top of the racetrack.
I told Dylan Freeman to be careful, because Al Corey will come and take his juice box and his Costco hot dog if he doesn't watch himself there, calling him Arca Brakes Al. But as we see, Al is almost thinking about taking this thing 3 wide to get around Nerney. Nerney is definitely a cork in the bottle right now in that Astro Tools Camaro, as Al seems like he is trying to find his way all the way around, as we just confirmed the nickname that we gave him there. Of course, we call him the Boss Man. He is known as Rafter. I would like to call him a tire salesman every once in a while, but Arca Brakes Al, that one might stick for a while.
It wasn't us. I'm just pointing it out for the sake of fan audience interaction here. So I've said what I said, and I said whoever I say. If I wasn't, then insert the rest of the lyrics here. But Epting leading this thing, and we saw Steve McClendon make the outside work. Well, Nerney and company, they are not having that same luck. They are about 12th in line, 10th in line, and they are just absolutely stagnating. And that's been the common trend. The only example of outside success has been Harmon and McClendon, and they are second and third in this lane, and it makes you wonder, do they have it in the tank? Can they do the old insert Talladega Nights reference that I can't think of on the fly to make it happen?
I can't think of it either, so doggone it. They're going to try. I mean, that's the thing is, we're approaching lap 80 of 130. They're going to try. There's still plenty of race to give. There's still a pit stop to be had there, as I believe that was Benson I saw on the inside heading towards the pits, going laps down and continuing along. And, yeah, that is Benson coming through here early on. And
he pitted already.
Queuing, I was about to say, is he queuing off the scheduled pit stops here under green, or is this unscheduled, some sort of issue coming up? Looks like right front damage.
Yep, coming on in. So wouldn't be a drive-through incident penalty. That would be a penalty. Well, that'd just be a pit stop for whatever the situation may be. A couple drivers laps down. We have a little traffic. We have Corner. We have Crutchley. We have Alfredson. Alfredson has no damage to the car. He just has pace loss. He wants a caution instantly because he doesn't want to go 2 laps down. He wants to stay 1 lap down where he can get that free pass. Right now, Naj is the last car on the lead lap, and we'll see if the Band-Aid of the draft will keep that number 48 going as fast as it needs to go.
So here's the good news for them, is that they can stay in front of the pack if they want to and try to hold their position. Here's the bad news for them. That pack is mad fast. So what is probably going to happen here is one of 2 things. They can fight to hold this position, or the pack is going to just funnel around them kind of a la carte Talladega Daytona style. And what I think is about to happen is that they're going to be told to hold that high line and stay out of the way here, but that's going to put Nerney in a pickle, and we're about to see 3 wide, I think, unless Nerney just lets those lap down cars hold him up, which is not what I'd expect. Nerney taps the wall coming through. He's trying to work his way around, and the lap cars are giving no quarter. Oh my gosh, this is not going to end well.
Yeah, Nerney absolutely obliterated there by that competition. Drops back. You could just see how much he had to get off the power there. Falls back, corner into the wall. Nerney says, I don't care anymore. I'm forcing the 3 wide. And he will do that. Al Corey behind, and the quad oval 3 wide. Super, super sketchy. The Wooster trying to find his way through. Then you have Adam Shaw in the Clifford Mobile. And still 3 wide as they squeeze through Naj here. Everyone just wants to get through. Naj not fighting for that track position, as you just kind of uttered. That still gives him, now gives Naj the free pass. Alfredson now 2 laps down, so that just completely destroys his event.
That actually couldn't have went worse and then better for Nerney. Nerney had to fight to get that first car through, and then Naj just sidestepped straight out of the way. Now the 037 though is just holding through again. Matt Alfredson, who is 2 laps down, is on that high line, leading that high line, which I hate to say is probably a best case scenario for Nerney, because that gives him someone in Nerney knowing how to push. If he can just get Alfredson ahead of the 18 and himself, he could just drop down and take the race lead. Look at this. Zach Nerney using lap down cars to his advantage. We have a new race leader of Zach Nerney, 36 on lap 86.
Yeah, he got detrimented and then benefited by the same situation, so wasn't on my bingo card. And this is actually one of the better things that can happen, because now he's the leader, but he's not the leader, so he could save a little bit of fuel cruising behind, making Alfredson punch through the big hole in the air. But Alfredson, the one thing that hurts him right now is that Naj is still on the racetrack, and he still is the free pass recipient. He needs something to happen to Naj, so that way Alfredson would be the free pass beneficiary if we are to get a yellow. As there's Benson exiting the track, and Benson had a almost 3-minute pit stop, puts him 9 laps down now.
It would have been some sort of big damage there for Benson, or the alternative is some sort of real-life obligation coming into play, potentially the bathroom, which is something we've seen. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing.
Silver car may have just had I think that may have been Jeremy Brown, actually. We'll cue a replay real quick. I think he may have had a masterful bit of driving here. Let's see if my affirmation is correct. Yeah, he got a bump from Emmert. That was a good bit of driving to save that car.
That's just the driver level of Jeremy Brown, though. And look at this. He's already right back in the mix, still up front. Again, I don't think this could go better for Nerney at this point, for him to be ahead of Epting and have a car ahead of him. I mean, this is literally best case scenario from a worst case scenario.
Yeah, and this is the point, in the run where the tires are, potentially a plausible factor, and the pit stop should be right around the corner. We are now 40 to go, so theoretically, again, you want to make it to at least probably 93, 94 to give you the best chance. If you can make it to 95, you have the most amount of wiggle room. I think from what we were told, the leader could go 35 laps, so I think you really want to stretch it to lap 95 if you can, but I think that may be too much of a stretch. If you can get to 93, you're probably good to the end on your current fuel load.
Yeah, it's just going to be a case of getting there, which it seems like should be doable. It's going to be close for everyone, but it should be doable, as that 037 of Alfredson has now dipped his way to the high line and is falling back through the field, which does not help anyone, especially Nerney. So let's see here. The most dangerous point of this race is coming up, Corey. The most dangerous point is, Barney's just standing there with his hands behind his back.
I've never seen that before, actually.
Swaying around. He's just enjoying himself at this point. Not a care in the world for Barney, but Barney, you better be on standby, because this is where things get This is where championships are won and lost, is right here on a green flag pit stop.
Go,
and
here
it comes. Woo, slow it down, boys.
You have to make that. There's no speed limit here on iRacing. You go full bananas there on that cooldown lane. But then you have to hit the speed limit here, that big yellow cone. That is where the speed limit kicks in. You see some smoke. But here's going to be a big question. We're 35 laps in. Is this a guaranteed 4-tire stop? Or are you going to have 2 tires? You're going to have a splash and dash? I can't imagine that. I think it will be 4 tires. You can see Epting's jack going on up. Let's take a look at everybody else. Yep, 4 tires and fuel. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tries to go off kilter, though. Oh my god, Epting just spun out exiting his stall.
Oh my gosh, and I have even worse news. Nerney didn't get it locked down. He got a speeding on entry.
Oh, potatoes. But just check out Epting. That's my rewinding sound.
I mean, that's a good way to get your brand new tires up to heat there. Why didn't you just call Charmander, have him hit him a little bit there?
Apparently he had Bulbasaur do it, so they were nice and slippy. So that will certainly hurt his efforts, but now McClendon has taken the lead, but now here comes him, and everyone is fighting for the apron at max cost. Gotta stay below that white line. If you go above that white line, you risk a penalty. Emmert going full send bananas here. McClendon being a lot more conservative. There goes Crothers. Crothers passing. McClendon being the grandpa of this pit cycle, and based on what Emmert did, may not be the first call. Yeah.
Sean Bradley off into the grass there on pit entry. No wonder why McClendon did that there. Honestly, as next couple of cars come in there, Hopkins and Naj. Jeremy Brown stays out. Daniel Williams stays out here. This is going to shake things up entirely as they go. McClendon still in the pits there going through. Jeremy Brown comes across. He's 42 laps since his last pit stop. Surely this lap he's in.
So we were told 39 absolute maximum. So again, the information we get is based on one driver's testing, but sometimes drivers do things unexpected. But Jeremy Brown, this will give Jeremy Brown the best situation, because some of these drivers are right on the number, or so we thought, but this gives a lot of breathing room in the tank. If he needs to lead this race, if he needs to go full throttle, shouldn't be an issue. But the only problem for him is he's going to have to blend out by himself. Got a little bit free there, but up front we have still Williams. We still have Jeremy Brown will reset. Hopkins has pit, so... And here comes Williams. This is the finalization of the cycle. And currently, the first driver to get on track is going to be the 4:05. And that is via strategy, Brad. 9-second pit stop. 9-second pit stop. Looks like 2 tires was the prominent call for the top 10.
Yeah, it had to have been the call, and it doesn't surprise me a bit, because you kind of have to roll the dice on a green flag stop. You can't afford to, second guess things, and I'm not surprised to see 2 tires being the call for a majority of the top 10 there. Matt Harmon will be in second place, puts him in a great position. I told you I felt like something was going to shake up here, because let's look at where some of the big names are. Steve McClendon down in P12, Jeremy Brown in P9 trying to blend his way back in and get himself up to speed. They're spread out pretty significantly right now as well. As I said, Zach Nerney picked up speeding on entry, so his race is done, dusted. He was leading on a great call. He is now going to be running well down the order, showing in 16th right now, as I see Daniel Williams starting to blend out there as the pack goes by. Matt Harmon leading with Risto, Deal, Emmert, currently your top 5.
Now, Steve McClendon, this is going to be catastrophic for, maybe not catastrophic, because, and the only reason I say that is because Jeremy Brown is drafting with, no disrespect to Naj, the worst car to draft with now, because Maj is heavily damaged. So there's Jeremy's not going to go anywhere. He's going to, if anything, fall back into the clutches of Steve and company. So again, we're looking at a point standings of 3. We'll bring up the points real quick. You can see Jeremy Brown up by 3 over McClendon. So Jeremy will gain a few points as things currently stand, but could be a lot worse if Jeremy was in that lead draft.
I definitely agree with that, and I have to wonder if this draft will start to compress any here as we're 29 laps to go in this race. It does seem like top 4 are starting to get caught up here to P5. It seems like that is compressing a little bit here as they go, maybe not nearly as fast as they would want it to, but they are slowly reeling in that top 4 and this group of 6 as we see here. I just don't know how long it's going to take them to catch up, honestly, is kind of what I'm looking at with it. But they are gaining by about, what, 2/10 and a half a lap?
Yeah, just look at that battle tracker. It's just inching down at all ends of the speedway here. And the interesting part of it, Brett, is there's less cars in the second pack. They're tightly packed together. They're running a lot more uniform. And once you get to a certain point, usually about a second or so, you'll start to get the actual tow from that pack. So now you're getting the advantage of your drafting crew, but you're also getting the tow ahead. So they're getting to that point ever so quickly. And again, it's just interesting how less cars is running faster than more cars.
I could rattle something off the top of my head about physics and aerodynamics and blah 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 blah, but it doesn't make sense to me, is what I'm going to leave that at. I would think more cars, bigger pack, more of an advantage, more oomph there, but very clearly something with those 4, they just have things hooked up as they now hit the back end of this pack, and they're now going to tag in.
Yeah.
Let's see. My question is, are they going to stay single file into this pack, or are they going to try to do, kind of a classic super speedway move and just keep the momentum and rip the high line and just see how far they can get around?
Shaw.
All right, Adam Shaw, doing Adam Shaw things onto the high line.
Yeah, he's getting out of the way, which is the best thing he can do. But that second pack, they were all running the same line. They weren't really deviating. They were staying right nose to nose with each other. The front pack is kind of bobbing and weaving, and they weren't staying connected. That air was kind of just separating. They weren't getting a solid draft, and even though they had more cars, they weren't running as consistent together. But now we have what is a 8-car lead draft. And Jeremy Brown, I don't see. I think what he's worried about, he's doing some mental math. I think if he realizes if he passes Naj is probably going to lose him. So I guess it's kind of a calculated gamble to decide to push a damaged car rather than driving by yourself. Is still faster. And then behind that, you have Epting and another 8-car train, essentially.
I'm trying to tell if Jeremy Brown is gaining, and the answer that I have is no. It does not look like he's really gaining. But again, where he's partnered there with Naj, I mean, he's not going to gain anything from having Naj behind him. So I think at that point, it's kind of just a friend help a friend, because the one thing I will say about triple bypass, everyone gets along really well here. So, and Naj has had some pretty rough luck this race. So I have a feeling that for Jeremy Brown, it's a case of just stick around with Naj for a little while and see what happens here as we go through. Steve McClendon in this pack, I mean, is just trying to get his way through with Nerney, and they're trying to work their way forward. Nerney's, of course, a lap down. So he's just picked McClendon there on the high line to go with, as he is battling it out with one Mr. 809.
Yep, and there goes Alfredson. We talked about him. He wasn't going to have the fuel. He was going to have to make a second pit stop. McClendon goes to the bottom, clears that pack. But just one final inkling. I think the benefit to this, Brad, is that it mitigates the damage of him falling by himself into the clutches of this next pack. So it kind of solidifies that he'll probably finish 9th if this thing finishes green. Because if he was by himself, he'd fall into the clutches, then he theoretically could be, 14th or 15th or so. So I think that is kind of another little dynamic to it. But up front, Matt Harmon is leading this thing with Donald Bristow, Nicholas Deal, and with what we see in the top 5, Brad, we don't have any real knowledge to base off of. We haven't seen any of these drivers up front, so we really don't know. Other than Harmon, we don't know what these drivers are capable of when it comes to trying to make a pass up high.
This front pack is making me nervous because they just don't seem settled in the car. If you talked about it when we saw that second pack there catch up with the front pack of Cameron Kane and Sean Bradley when they caught up with those first 4 or 6 cars. They just didn't seem very stable. There's that little bit of bob and weave, not really being able to hold that line consistently. And all it takes is that and a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact, and it can spell disaster for this front pack. So they need to breathe here. 20 laps to go. Still a lot of race distance to make up. Just breathe a little bit here, guys. Keep it single file. Just keep it bumper-to-bumper and keep that pace behind you. Let's wait a little bit before we start doing anything too wild.
Well, the time to keep it patient, though, is starting to run out here. It's because we are now sub 20 laps to go. This race would be over in less than 10 minutes if it carries on green, and my vibe says it's probably not. I think that eventually, once they start dicing around, we've seen a couple incidents today of drivers drifting up the track and drivers filling in a gap that may or may not exist, but that is going to become even more prominent here in the closing stages, again leading into the final race of the season at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Season 9 Triple Bypass Campaign. Of course, if you like what you see, like, share, comment, subscribe with us. We'll be back on... Will we be back Tuesday? No, we won't, actually, because that's going to be on the other channel. We'll be back on Wednesday, Elbows Out Racing, but we'll also be back to cover the next couple races of the Xfinity Series for the Triple Bypass Campaign. Excited to cover that. We are going to be covering the Dover Motor Speedway this week, and then early December covering Phoenix as Championship 2025 wraps up here in this league.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're going through this Season 9 with Triple Bypass. It's really awesome to see how this league has developed, even since we jumped on board here just, a few seasons ago, and just seeing how the league has developed and evolved in different things. And I know I'm not going to give away their back-end info, Corey, but I know that we have, been privy to talking with admin and kind of finding out the info about some of the plans for the winter and going into 2026. So I won't reveal that, but if you're curious about some of those details, they are to come. And of course, be sure to check out Triple Bypass's website down in the description. Join the Discord, and well, you can be the first to know before even we announce it.
Well, I think the one thing we can describe about what's happening is we didn't get fired yet, so we should be coming back next season, barring Brad saying something stupid. Because it would only be Brad
saying something stupid.
I know that was part of the irony of that statement. But this pack right here, I think they're trying to ensure that this race does not finish green, because this is the kind of racing that we kind of expected coming into today. Double file racing. Again, the only person to make the outside lane work has been Nerney and McClendon. And unfortunately, Nerney, he is relegated to 1 lap down and not even the free pass. Again, Naj right there. Jeremy Brown, he's fallen into the clutches with Naj. So just as I said, I thought he was going to be able to maintain that little bubble. But no, that second pack, now you have some more spots to lose for Jeremy Brown. Again, spots to lose equals points between him and McClendon.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how things are going. Naj now in the middle. Oh, I thought Naj just got absolutely the worst luck of his life, but somehow we stay alive here. Jeremy Brown, I think, just checking up hardcore, and everybody with heads up driving there. Naj getting out of the way. That terrified me. Look at this here going through. Watch Naj. He slides a little high, and then...
Yeah. Do we give Naj the Ricky Rudd Save of the Race award?
I would say yes. I don't know why you wouldn't.
How did you save that car? Well, I'm just so daggone good.
Ricky Rudd Save of the Race goes to Mr. John Naj Crutchley. But as we close in on 10 laps to go in today's affair, we have Matt Harmon, and you just have to think, I mean, the drivers behind him, we don't have too much knowledge of Dan Williams up front, going for wins. And it's not to say it as a disrespectful statement. It's just, it's just the fact of the matter. We don't have much knowledge about Cam Kane going for wins. So there's a lot of unknowns about who can do what, who has what in the bank, who has what in the thought process to try to take this win away from the 28.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're about to get some knowledge of a lot of things here, because watch that second pack. Watch that gap between Steve McClendon and Nicholas Deal. That is the first gap that I'm watching here as it closes. It's been going pretty quick here, and I think if they get to Nicholas Deal and Al Corey with enough time left, they can try to close things up even further. I think it's too little too late to get to the front pack, but they're at least going to give it the old college try here. Harmon up front, I think, is going to be in a good position, honestly, to possibly see himself through. Daniel Williams, I think right now, is just looking to pick that right time. It is so difficult to pass, but on the same inverse, once you get the pass, you kind of set yourself up for at least a lap or two to get passed back. So if you're going to go for the pass, you have to make it stick. 9 laps to go here as they come through. Corey, this first pack, they're doing everything just right now. They're single file. They're holding on to it. They're letting things go. That second pack is still, absolutely duking it out with, everything they've got here. But they've kind of settled it in a little bit, at least McClendon, Wu, and Nerney. And they're just trying to...
Well, Brad, let's
get what they can.
We've missed something interesting here. Look at the differential, and this may be fuel. They are running about 0.4 of a second faster per lap. In fact, we've just completely disregarded that. Look at Steve McClendon. This is Deal. This is Al Corey. I talked about a Mario Kart turbo pad. That's what's basically a play right here. 3.5 seconds. Now let's watch this. I'll put up the interval graphic because you can get a reference to the leader. Look at that gap go down, as there may have been some contact there. And now, whatever they were
Jeremy
gaining,
Brown to the inside.
Whatever they were gaining is now essentially gone. Because now the race is essentially between these drivers.
So Steve McClendon was wanting everyone to go with, and it looks like Jeremy Brown had alternative thoughts, and it kind of forced the situation of everyone of, well, which way do I go? Do I go with Brown? Do I go with McClendon? What's the better option? And unfortunately, McClendon was on the high line, so I think everybody else went low, and it's going to drop him at least a couple of positions. But fortunate for him, Keaton Crothers to his inside is not a battle for position, so if he can just hold side by side there, that's going to help him a little bit. But it looks like he might lose out to Elton Wu here and drop down into P11.
Yeah, but again, this is all points. This is all points to be lost. Now Jeremy Brown up by 3. Now he has 2 more points. McClendon did have some laps led, so he has that benefit. But this is burning points right now. And that just makes the job at Charlotte that much more difficult. But going back up to the lead draft, it's hard to say, Brad. 2.5 seconds. I think coming probably to 2 to go, this is going to come together as just one huge pack. And it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be that much more interesting, or we're just going to have an absolute catastrophe when they get there. I think this is just a matter of guys who took just enough fuel with guys who took plenty and don't have to worry about anything.
My feeling
Sean
on
Bradley
this,
at Hopkins.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Harmon Pinnock. Harmon Pinnock didn't take enough fuel. He led so much that he ran himself out of fuel.
Well, that I did not expect. That changes everything for this race. Daniel Williams now in the lead. This front pack has fanned out, has gotten chaotic, and this is going to change literally everything on this race with 3 laps to go.
Now, what will happen here, because that pack is close enough, but they're not close enough, I don't think, to get there in 2 laps. Cameron Kane in the 37, looking to the high lane with the help from Sean Bradley. This is all for position. This top pack is all essentially on the lead lap. Here we go to the outside. That has been the absolute kryptonite move, but nobody going with Williams to the bottom. Cam Kane, Miller Lite 37. He wants to win a race to close out the season.
White flag coming through. Next time by. Nicholas
still
Deal in the
coming into the
background
pits.
dropping low. Wow,
not
this is
not Risto. Yes, Nicholas Deal, as you said, maybe running out of fuel, but here we come. No overtime, Brad. We're going to the white flags. Sean Bradley has gone to the outside with the help from Hopkins.
Sean Bradley to the outside. Hopkins there to the inside goes Cameron Kane in the 37. Sean Bradley, Cameron Kane, side by side. You've got the 35 of Daniel Williams, the only playoff driver in this mix, but these guys would love a win side by side coming into 3 here, Corey.
Coming to 3 and 4, we're side by side. Is it going to be a photo finish here? A little bit of contact. 37 and Sean Bradley kissing fenders there. Coming to the line. Photo finish. Who gets it? I don't know.
By 1/1000th of a second,
Cam
it is
Kane.
the 37 of Cameron Kane.
1/1000th, if it the closest margin you can physically have without it actually being a tie. Let's go and try to get a good summation of this here on our instant replay.
And as we dial up this replay, I'm going to tell you right now, I think 1/1000th is too big of a gap for what we're about to see. Bringing it through here to the line, and I mean...
Yeah, let's. This would be a good point to slow it down to maximum. Now, they bumped through 3 and 4 here, and that was all good and dandy, but again, coming to the stripe, again, it's dramatic, folks. Getting slow motion on iRacing down perfectly is near impossible. Let's get a good summation here of this finish. Anytime now.
I mean, that is closer than 1/1000th of a second. Look at that. That is...
Now, enjoy B-roll for a second, folks, as Corey just does a little doody-doos with...
That is about the width of a lug nut between them.
Yeah, absolutely
Wow.
fabulous stuff here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Actually, you know what? We'll just we'll deal with that at a later time. But let's go and start our post-race show here and try and wrap up the craziness that we've witnessed here today at Hot Atlanta. Getting the win by the smallest of physical margins. Going to be Cameron Kane, Sean Bradley with a second, Dan Williams in third. Thought the race could have been his for a second, not to be had. William Emmert in fourth, Donald Risto in fifth. Al Corey gets sixth. McClendon got the advantage over Brown. That'll help him in the race for the finale next week. Wu and Deal rounding out the top 10.
Going on from there, P11 is going to be the number 10 of Michael Hopkins, with Keaton Crothers, the 809, running in the 12th place. Dominic Zanobi running a lap down in P13. Looks like Dad Duty's got to stand aside for one Sunday. We'll see how many more Sundays that happens. Matt Harmon in P14. Unfortunately, looks like running short on fuel with Naj Crutchley in P15. Heartbreaker for him. P16, Matthew Epting. And then Joshua Corner in P17. Zach Nerney, who needs to learn how to slow down on pit entry, in 18th place. Matt Alfredson P19 and Jason R. Benson in 20th. And I tell you what, Corey, I'll just round this one off. Adam Shaw, Clifford the Big Red Dog in 21st. Eddie Haw in 22nd. Derek Cat the Meow in 23rd. Caleb Brown in 24th. Herzog, and then rounding things off in that final position was nobody.
Yeah, I got a little overzealous there, but we'll head to victory lane, and we have Cameron Kane here. Cameron Kane, again, you're not a playoff driver. I know it's NASCAR media. I have to tell you, you're not a playoff driver. You're not a playoff driver, but it doesn't matter. You won a race, and you won a race in the smallest margin physically possible. How you feeling, bro?
Feeling pretty great, brother. That was a tight one there with Sean, huh?
Absolutely. 1/1000th of a second, the thinnest margin you can have outside of it just being a flat tie. But just kind of talk about the race as a whole. It seemed as such that the outside was just absolutely impossible to make passes in. But then the fuel strategy really came in late, and it seemed to really give some opportunities to make passes.
Yeah, 100%. Like when Al and I came out of the pits, we had Sean there and tow behind, and we were able to create a run and finally catch up to those guys. And yeah, at the end there, it was a shuffle back and forth, and I ended up timing it pretty well and getting out by Daniel and held on with Sean. So that was an absolute blast of a race.
All right, of course, season coming to a close, Charlotte next week, and then season 10 right around the corner. Where do you stand confidence-wise? Where do you stand with, what your goals are going to be coming into the final race and in the future for season 10?
Yeah, I've always struggled with this next gen car, so I've been really just trying to learn and pick away at it. And this is a great step in the right direction, especially for the confidence. But no, I'm excited to finish out the season and see how the playoffs end up.
Absolutely, brother. Go enjoy this one, and we'll see you next week.
I appreciate it. Take care. Thank you for what you guys do.
No problem, brother. And now second place, Sean Bradley with Mr. Brad.
Sean Bradley, the width of a lug nut, man, putting you in second place there. Started third, finished second right there on the end. Talk me through basically turn 4 to the end.
Oh, it's such a blur. I don't even remember. It's just I was going with Cam. That's my Battlefield 6 squad mate right there. He's revived me more times than I can count. And and he was going around, and I went with him, and he tucked back into the low line. And there was no room for me back there, so I just decided, well, I'm sticking high. And he beat me by 0.001. Little.
Well, very clearly we're not in Battlefield, but I tell you what, man, doggone good racing all the way through. This was amazing to watch, dude. I gotta ask you, how, just in general, how did Echo Park feel? Because from the booth, it was fun. This was a fun race.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. It's just that high line did not have any momentum for most of the race until the guys in the bottom had to start saving fuel, of course, and slowing the pace down. That was the only time the high line came in. Otherwise, yeah, it felt like a blast. It felt pretty good, way better than the last few times that we've been here.
Absolutely, man. And just looking ahead here, of course, the final race of the season coming up is going to be at Charlotte next week. How are you feeling for next week? And I know you're not a playoff driver, blah, 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 all the fun NASCAR media things. Does Charlotte have a win written for you?
Man, I think I told you guys that mile and a half is my bread and butter, and then I went and screwed up pit road entry on both Vegas and Kansas, if I recall correctly. So I'm going to say I don't feel good about this at all, and I'm going to be junk, and hopefully that will net me a good finish.
Well, we'll see how it goes, man. Sean, it's awesome to always watch a great battle like that. Super, super impressed to see you and your Battlefield 6 squad mate go through. Thankfully, no big battles going on other than just y'all bumping and banging through 3 and 4. And, well, we'll see you next week, man, and see how things go.
Yeah, thanks. Congrats, Cam. Love you, man. And cheers, boys.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, Brad, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to have you double interview here because I just had to do a little work because I wanted to get that final margin of victory on screen for us.
That does not surprise me, and I don't blame you. So let's grab the only playoff driver to finish in the top 3, Daniel Williams. Daniel Williams, sir, hello. So you were in third place, and you had a great view of this 0.001 win that happened in front of you. But I got to say, in third, it wasn't so clear-cut for you because you about got passed at the line, man.
Yeah, this seems to be a recurring thing for me.
It was fun to watch, I'm not going to lie, and I got to ask you, you're the only playoff driver to finish in the top 3. You had Emmert behind you in fourth. How's it feel to be up there and get a good run?
It was great. It was good to recover from a lot of the early incidents. It just seemed to be a magnet tonight, early on in the race for what was going on, in front of me, and then, slowly just worked my way through the field and found myself in a good spot with the pit strategy there.
Absolutely, man, and it's good to kind of see you in that position going through. I got to ask you, next week, season finale, Charlotte. What are we expecting out of this 35? How many Lonnies are you going to drink, and, well, where are you going to put that car?
I think I'd like a new strategy where I don't start middle back. I'd like to qualify up front and give myself a chance just to be in the running, for some stage points and just, be a little more engaged in the early part of the run instead of just having the heartbreak at the end.
Definitely would not blame you there, but nevertheless, we'll see how things go, man. Congratulations on the top 3, and, well, I'll catch up with you next week at Charlotte.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, and that'll be our post-race show here. And again, it didn't work. It was on screen for a little bit here. Unfortunately, I didn't have my Whiplash sim cams here today, because if I had my Whiplash sim cams, Andrew always has a start-finish photo finish camera in there. So, again, more motive to use Whiplash sim cams. I just wasn't able to get them loaded in here for this week. But a race that started a little meh, a little rough in the middle, Brad, but, as that strategy all came together and all the ebbs and flows of the fuel and the runs really ended up being an entertaining finish to this race.
I don't think that final 50 laps could have been much better, to be honest with you. That final 50 laps was just glorious. So, hey, Triple Bypass. So let's keep Martinsville off the calendar for years to come. And let's keep having some good races like this, guys. Keep this up.
Yeah, I don't necessarily say come here all the time, but yeah, good races certainly on our calendar. We'll have that next week at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And get like, share, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next broadcast. It'll be Wednesday with the Elbows Out Racing League. Thursday, we'll be back here for the Xfinity Series, and then we'll start it all again next week with our season finale of the Cup Series. But that is going to be Corey and Brad signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Oh, you.